want to read that comment. Really cool to hear Charlie talk about things because it shows how the game's evolved and how Knight changed the way the game is looked at. Yes, yeah, the game is definitely evolved, and I would tell you all, um, I don't know if I can't talk for every other player at LU. I don't know how if I realized how privileged we were for playing for a coach like Coach Knight. You don't take him for granted, but the insight that was provided, you got to understand. Now, I get that now because here's my homework and research to share this with you. I wrote a book called My Attack Planner, and Coach Knight actually endorsed the book. And doing research on Coach Knight, I knew about Coach Pete Newell. Go look him up. I'm not going to really go into too much details on Coach Pete Newell. But Coach Pete Newell was Coach Knight's mentor. What was interesting, for some reason, I just got this insight as a player development coach to really start diving into um, like shortening the court, small sided games. We did a lot of two versus zero, five versus zero. Dummy defense, but just really movement. And Pete Newell was someone who introduced that like the Coach Knight. And doing researching on Pete Newell, Coach Pete Newell, he said he would go to basketball camps and try to come back and do all these things he learned, but realize he asked himself one question: does it fit what we are doing? And the answer is no. So he started to develop his own system. So he is like a pioneer in the 5-out motion offense, which Coach Knight was an avid student of, and that's what we played. Coach Knight had his version. And what I realized is everyone has their way of playing. It's not right or wrong. It's just a different way to play. Right? You take John Calipari when he was at Memphis, they pioneered dribble drop motion. It was not called dribble drop motion. It was literally called, Jim, dribble, dribble, pass, skip, dribble, dribble. That's what it was called. I'm not lying.
That's
It
very
was called
descriptive.
dribble, dribble, pass, because that's what it was. You got to think layup when you put the ball on the ground. You got to look to pass it. You got to skip it, get ball reversals. So then it was like, hey, we're going to call it dribble drop motion, right? And then
Yeah.
Derrick Rose was really a player who really helped that process kind of take off, right? So that's my interest, right? I mean, I'm not saying this is easy either. I'm not saying this is easy for Charlie to say to go coach in college or NBA or high school. My role, I'm a fan of player development. I eat, sleep what Brian was talking about: tendencies, philosophies, mentalities. How can we help these guys and girls get better for life? How can we set them up for success? I call it GPS, game plan for success. That is that's my thing, and I owe a lot of that to Coach Knight. I think I told you, Jim, and I'm done after this. I don't know if he was joking. I don't know, because he did have some explicit words with it. I'm not going to say these words, but he turned to me one day in the locker room and said, Charlie, if you ever want to learn how to do something, but ever was the F word. If you ever want to learn how to do something, you got to learn how to teach it. And he just walked off. And that was a seed that he planted 20 something years ago. I was like, wait, what did he just say to me? Oh, and then years later, it was when you teach, you learn twice. Got it. That's why I told Brian, if you can think it, if you can say it, you can articulate it, you can do it. You can be it. That's teaching. That's the way. Stuff doesn't go away from me, man. It sticks. So I just wanted to share that. We lost you, Jim. I had to take over for
No,
45
I'm glad
seconds.
you.
So
Well,
thank you.
you had the most important stuff to say anyway, and that
No,
is
man.
a great learning tool. It is the fact of, because I don't hear anybody else talking like that when you hear former players hardly ever
No, man.
talk about
No,
their days. They don't. It's like, man, we were
yeah.
as good, did this. Every time I talk to a former IU player, it is like this. I mean, from that
Yeah.
era, they talk
Yeah.
about having their stacks of notebooks that
Yeah.
you have to have, that they all
Yeah.
still have. Everybody still has their notebooks, and it's
Man,
a
look.
treasure trove of information.
Yes, and I mean, and I don't show this to like brag, but like This is Coach Knight. You see all those dang on books back there? That's Coach Knight's influence. Like that's Coach Knight's influence on me. And again, when he said that to me, I see it and I get it now because that's something you can't take away from somebody. You know, what's the quickest way out of any situation? Education, intelligence, right? Doing, learning by experience, action, support, right? And a lot of information is put in books. Like one guy is like, hey, I don't need 60 years to get better. I just need 10 months. You're going to tell me everything you didn't do. You're going to put it in a book. I'm going to read that book. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do my best. At the end of the day, it's really what not to do. It's not what to do. It's what not to do. That's really the way of going.